Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. Today I will essentially be reacting to a video I published a few weeks ago in which I shared with you how much money had I spent on my first 6 months of living here in Munich. And in case you have not seen this video, I will leave it above here for you and also down below in the description, since I certainly recommend that you watch it before watching this one. So the idea behind this video is, as I said, to react to the other video, in the sense that, I don't know if you remember, but the other video was a bit more of like an objective thing. I was telling you how much had I spent on each category, but not going into much details and just sharing it in an objective way. Instead, today I will try to reflect on that, share some conclusions, share some tips especially on how could that cost be reduced and why exactly did I have that cost. So with that, the main purpose will be to reflect on things, see which things could I have done better in order to save more money, and hopefully also help you save more money if you are planning on coming here to Munich. But let's stop the talking and let's go right into the video. If it's okay with you, I will go category by category, seeing which cost did I had and how could we have reduced that cost. And just to refresh a bit your memory, in the past video we saw that we spent per person 11,170 euros and 95 cents on my first 6 months of living here in Munich. And this is considering that my girlfriend also moved with me, so she also spent another 11,000 euros. Alright, so the first category that contributed to the almost 12,000 euros that I spent was on food. And this is one of the ones that I'm most proud of, how we did things, since we reached an average cost for one person for the 6 months of 440 euros and 51 cents. But you can always do things better, and the question is, how could we have reduced even more this cost of food? Well, I would say that going straight away from the beginning only to Aldi's and Lidl's, because we also tried going to supermarkets, but these are the cheapest ones. And the price for these supermarkets is not just cheaper for the regular products, but they have something super cool, which is that when products are about to expire, they put them at 50% discount, which means that you can get many things at 50% discount and half the price. And this usually happens from our experience in the afternoons and mostly on Saturdays afternoons before they close. And we are able also to find more products, more discounted products on the towns outside of Munich than in Munich center. And I guess this has to do with the fact that there is less population outside of Munich. So on that, if I had followed my own tips right from when we started living here, we probably could have saved 20 euros for these 6 months. Next comes the rent of our apartment, plus the moving costs, plus the deposit that we left, plus the visit to IKEA. And on that we spent for the first 6 months of the year per person 6,463 euros and 44 cents. We made the choice to rent an apartment that was relatively close to my job so that I could just take the bike to go there, and we could save the 55 euros a month that cost the monthly pass for the public transport here in Munich. And we are also a bit on the outskirts of Munich, which also means that the prices are a bit cheaper. I have already mentioned this before, but finding an apartment in Munich is hard. So I really don't know what we could have done to save more money on the apartment itself, because we simply could not get any other apartment since they didn't allow us to visit them. I mean, it's super hard really, but we are pretty happy with this choice. Nevertheless, something that I do think that we spent a bit too much money on was on our visit to IKEA, because actually we rented an apartment that was already furnished and it came with everything. So bed sheets, I don't know, towels, even a coffee machine that we have never used because neither one of us drinks coffee, but you know what I mean, right? Everything. Nevertheless, we still went to IKEA because we wanted to get new curtains. I mean, these were super necessary, they were super ugly in the previous ones, and also king-size bed sheets. But you know what happens, you go to IKEA, you go to buy just one thing, you start seeing lots of very nice things, and little by little you keep adding things that are just unnecessary, and you end up spending way more than you really needed. And last tip on getting an apartment that I can recommend you if you're coming from abroad is to not get the Schufa. And this, in case you don't know, it's basically just a certificate that says how good of a tenant have you been, how many times have you changed apartment, if you have always paid on time, and these kind of things. And this is of course very useful for landlords, and if you're from Germany or if you have been living in Germany, this is very useful. But if not, don't bother on getting it because it is useless. And you can just save 30 euros and you don't have to spend 30 euros like we did for nothing. So concluding this part, if we had not bought so many unnecessary things in IKEA and we had not done the Schufa, we probably could have saved about 50 euros per person. And I mean, in your case, if you can find a cheaper apartment, because currently we're paying 1,228 euros per month, everything included, which by the way, I think that it's very much in line with the prices of apartments in Munich. I would say that it's even a bit cheap because everything is included. But if you are able to find something cheaper than that, then of course you can also save money by getting an even cheaper apartment, but just bear in mind that it's very hard. And the last thing, and this is the last thing on this topic, is that if you are coming alone, I would certainly just advise to rent a room. Prices go from 500 to 600 euros a month, and you have a room with everything included, like all the expenses included, and then you have some time to look for another place in case you want to have your own place. The next one is gasoline, and on this we had first the van that my dad lended us to come here to Munich, and then we bought a car. So on all of that we spent for the first 6 months 163 euros and 64 cents per person. On this, the main thing that we could have done in order to save more would have been to not go out so much, but it's also important to remind ourselves to enjoy life, because for me, for instance, that I'm very frugal. Of course I want to save money, but it's important as well to enjoy life. And if you're moving to a new country, a new city, and you're just staying all your day in your apartment, you will probably get fed up, miss home, and just want to leave in about a month. So that's why I think that it's very important to do things that you like, and in our case we like going out, hiking and different things, so that's why we went out and we had the cost of the gasoline. But anyways, if you're going out and going on trips, something that we didn't know at the beginning was that the gasoline in Austria is cheaper than in Germany. So if we had known that from the very beginning, I mean, you can organize more or less your trips to go to Austria because it is just 1 hour away from Munich, and then you can just like fill your tank there and save some money by doing so. So if we had learned this sooner, I think that we could have saved 10 euros more or less per person on it. The next one is the car we bought and car related expenses, in which we spent 3,269 euros and 68 cents. On this we had the luck to buy it from some friends that we have here in Germany, which made the process very easy, and also I think that we got a pretty good deal for the car that we bought. And of course at this specific point comes the question of whether or not a car is really needed. And to be honest, probably it will depend a lot on what you like to do. If you are a very city person that really enjoys being in the city and so on, then I would say that you probably don't need the car. But if you're like us, who enjoy going to the mountains and so on, then I think that it's pretty useful at least to have a car. Of course you can take the train, but it is quite expensive here in Munich or in Germany in general. So getting a car for us was a good option. Something true though was that we would not have bought this car so early, and we just bought it because our friend just wanted to get rid of it, and we had already agreed that we would buy it, and certainly we wanted to buy it because it was a pretty good deal, as I said, but in other conditions in which we would have had to look for a car, we would have waited a lot longer. So on all of these, we could of course have saved the whole cost of the car, so more or less around 2,500 euros if we had just taken public transport and a train to go to different places and not bought a car. And of course, if you just don't want to even go to all of these places, then you could even reduce this expense to 0, and I guess that this will depend a lot on your specific situation and what you enjoy doing. Finally, in other, we spent 833 euros and 70 cents per person, and this was mostly driven by two things. Firstly, the camera that we bought and that I'm recording a video with, that costed around 900 euros, and then also the fact that I had to buy a new phone for 160 euros because my other one broke. These expenses are something that you certainly can cut back on, but I'm sure that all of us have different expenses or different things that we spend money on that might not qualify to the categories that we have just seen. But anyways, considering that we had not bought the camera, we could have saved 400 euros here as well. Alright, so now after having shared with you my thoughts on the different expenses and so on, I think that something more feasible and maybe less scary to say would be to say that you can spend 8,190 euros and 95 cents on your first 6 months living in Munich. This overall would be a reduction of 2,980 euros, mainly driven by the fact that we are saying that we don't buy the car and we don't buy the camera, that these are maybe very expensive hobbies that I have, but I'm sure that you also have hobbies that maybe are not so expensive, but they would also add up. But anyways, we will leave it with this. But to end with the video, I just want to mention that of course it's very important to reduce and cut back on costs in order to achieve financial independence earlier, but we should never forget about the most important thing in life, which is living it. It is very good to work towards a future in which you achieve financial independence. You don't have to work every day to maintain or sustain your lifestyle, and you can just do whatever you want every day. That's super cool, but it is super important as well to not forget to enjoy the path towards getting there. And unfortunately, part of enjoying this path will probably mean spending a bit more. In any case, I will leave it for today. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, then please make sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're not yet subscribed, and as always, see you next time.